pipe that up a little bit. Whoa. Some woman died, she raised her 109.
So I give the invitation.
Well, just celebrate.
With order this meeting of the Murphysboro City Council. As always, I'd ask that we would all rise. Our Lady Barb Hughes. Barb.
Gracious and loving God, we thank you for your presence as we once again meet. Father, help us to make decisions that will indeed make Murphysboro a better place to live, work, and play. We pray that our work here is pleasing to you, and help us not to dwell on the negativity of this world, but to embrace the positivity of your grace, of your wisdom, of your strength. We ask these things in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Contractor, would you please call the roll?
Alderman Hughes. Here. Alderman Curry-Witzman. Here. Alderman Run. Austin.
Here.
Alderman Jackson. Here. Alderman Pittman.
Here.
Alderman Urbis.
Here.
Alderman McComb.
Here.
Alderman Strack.
Here.
Alderman Gladden.
All right, the first thing we have on the agenda this evening is something we've come to certainly welcome, and it is of the Restoration Hero Award. We've seen this handed out to various people who have really taken the money to restore important properties. And we have with us from the Preservation Commission, and we have a who's going to be honored, who has brought back to life the historic Hull House. And so I'll turn it over.
Well, we've just noticed that there's been a lot of improvements lately, and we've seen it go through several phases since I've lived here, and we're excited to see what becomes of it, and really great job with the project, really good.
It's beautiful.
And the Preservation Commission wants to give this award here in recognition of that.
Ray, would you mind just sort of telling us all, I think many people are aware of what you've been up to there, but give us sort of the update.
Okay. So I'll stand up so I'm not
Sure.
talking behind you guys. It was a year ago, August the 3rd. So actually this Friday we have a ribbon cutting to celebrate that. So I have taken under a huge project. So the house needed to be repainted. There needed to be several repairs. The gutters needed to be redone. The roof. So I'm in real estate, as most of you know. So maintaining a historical home is a big expense. So I am very lucky that Teresa sold me the house because I do cherish it. And today was actually the grand opening of my real estate agency that's in Murphysboro. So
Great.
Very blessed. And thank you guys very much for your support and appreciating what I have done to invest in Murphysboro. So thank you guys.
Great. Say you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but if you have other things, we won't be offended if you decide to.
So today I opened my business, so I'm definitely going to duck out. Otherwise, I would love to become more involved
Sure.
and learn more about city council, but it's been a long day.
Understood.
So, thank you guys.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
And she cuts a mean head of hair.
Yeah,
She cuts a mean.
What's that?
She cuts a mean head of hair.
Did you open a business?
It's been a long day for me, too.
Yeah. All right, up next we have the July the 16th, 2024. I'd entertain any questions or amendments to the minutes at this time. Is there a motion to approve?
So
the
moved.
minutes?
Second. Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Oh, okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That takes us to our regular standing commission and committee reports. First, we go to Budget and Finance chaired by W.J. Pitt.
Thank you, Mayor. Under old business, under new business, we have consideration of accounts payable registers. Does anybody have any questions on the bill?
I don't have questions, I don't have comments, you know, I'm like this broken record. I got my questions answered, thank you, WJ. But there's over 16K on here from tourism again. I don't know where they are. I know that Sandra addressed them at their last meeting about the continued spending of non-budgeted monies. But why use it all up in 1 year? And also, I had real concerns that they would actually rent a minibus with a non-refundable down payment, or I guess it's a something
Deposit or
like that.
whatever.
Yeah, anyway, and then decide not to use it. And, I mean, it's only $280, that one, but in all fairness, that doesn't need to happen. I would love to see us, as a city, send a letter. Just, you know, I'd like to know where they think, where they are with this. And, I mean, if we continue to have 16K every few months, they're not gonna have the monies to have it budgeted next year.
Well, I had a long conversation today with Amy Mills about, you know, the spending from tourism on the various things. And she did send me an email that sort of talked about the measurability of the things that they're doing. And she also said that she would be happy to come to the council meeting or welcome council members, you know, to speak with her about that, because she sort of led that charge with the social media influencers and other things in terms of using the tourism fund channels to reach people. But I kind of hear what you're saying, Barb, is just more even broadly speaking than maybe we need to like have an, I think Scott may join us later on the phone, but I know he's on vacation, but maybe we where they are and sort of just say, here's what, you know, we feel is responsible for you to spend between now and the end of the year or
Yeah,
something.
I mean, we're in the second half now. And, you know, I don't know if they spend as much as they did the first half. I don't know if they've got that. I mean, I know we're getting wonderful revenue from, you know, the hotel.
Sure.
But,
Well, I think part of the plan was to spend the reserves that they did have, correct?
but I would think that they wouldn't want to spend all of their reserves, and I can't imagine that they would have much. Scott can, you know, fill us in on that, of course, WJ.
Well, as I've said before, tourism is one of the few funds where I don't want us to be banking up large sums of money, because it's not as if a water main's going to break and tourism's going to have to
Yeah,
spend the money
oh,
to
I
fix
agree.
it.
I'm not asking that.
I think there also is a reasonable, I mean, the whole reason that we have to approve their spending is because ultimately we are the oversight. So, you know, I think it's,
I just think it's prudent for us to keep a good watch on it,
yeah.
and perhaps.
I think that is something we've asked for on a regular basis.
Yes, we have,
Just some
and we-
update of what upcoming costs may be and
And we really
what so
don't get
far those expenses have been, and that just may be something to reiterate. And we've got it periodically. I mean,
Well, and
we've got-
Michael Jones, of course, was, you know, our,
started-
and obviously, we continue to miss him. Mr. Urbis?
Well, I was just going to raise the same concern. I just wanted to place my name on that list,
Yeah.
just to be mindful of what they're spending it on. And I thought maybe Scott.
Okay.
Thank you.
They may want to consider renting minibuses that have refundable down payments.
Sure.
I mean, you know, something that simple could be avoided.
Well, is there a motion, or any other questions on the bills? Is there a motion to pay the bills?
We have a motion, anybody have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, see what item under new business, any public comment under budget and finance? Hearing none, we can move out of the budget.
Thank you, WJ. That takes rounds, chaired by Mike Austin. Mike?
New business, is there any public comments regarding building and grounds? Hearing none, Mayor, we can move out.
All right, that takes us to Community Relations, chaired by Ms. Curry-Witzman. Jance?
Thank you, Mayor. We have no old business. Under new business, we have discussion regarding nightly room, hotel rentals, and I believe that Scott put this.
Yeah, Scott Strack had brought this item to my attention, had it put on the agenda this evening for discussion. It really is addressing Verbo and Bs. There may be other I'm not familiar with, but that style of home short-term rentals. And, what I understand is that in the Lewis Wide subdivision, there is one of the homes there that has begun engaging as this, and there are concerns from residents. Scott, I know you live in that neighborhood, and probably some of these folks here are your neighbors.
Yeah, these are all my neighbors here. Just really concerned, I mean, in an owner-occupied neighborhood, and I think there even been a house there rented out on a long-term basis. My question is really, and this may be for Richard or for Charlie, as far as, zoning, I believe that is zoned as a single-family residence area. Is that not?
That's correct.
Okay. Are you allowed to conduct a business in a single-family residential area?
I believe the rental of residential property, yes. I don't think our zoning code does not address this.
Even nightly rental, I mean, not talking long-term, but, okay.
The only
that's
thing
fine.
that we address by the city code for short-term rentals is under our hotel motel tax. If it's a rental less than 30 days, it falls under the definition of what would be a short-term rental, that Airbnbs are required to pay the state and city hotel motel tax.
Okay.
From our code, that would be the only thing that affects them.
Okay. Well, I know some folks asking because it Mark.
We built our home there 109 years ago. We are one of the originals. And things that we have concerns about too is we really don't know what's going on inside the house. And for instance, today we had 3 or 4 cars in there at one time. One was parked in the street behind earlier. So,
There have been as many as 6
Yeah.
at one time.
I counted 8 one morning.
And I counted.
Yeah, all out-of-state vehicles. So,
for all we know,
it's kind of unusual for out there.
yeah, something nefarious could be going on out there when we have no one knows. But anyway, that's one of my concerns.
Well, how many people were staying in that house that night?
I don't. It should be limited under the rental agreement, I would think, but I don't believe there's anyone there to enforce it, so.
If something was going to be done to address Airbnb or these types of short-term rentals, or home short-term rentals, through Airbnb or Verbo, or somebody's just doing it on their own, it's a short-term rental. I did take somewhat of a look. I mean, one would be, there could be subdivision covenants that would prevent it. I don't know how these subdivision covenants that they address me in that regard at all. It could be addressed through zoning to limit. I don't know that the city could get rid of these altogether. I don't know if there's authority to do that, but there are some municipalities that do limit which residential districts, zoning districts we can be. Of course, if somebody is already doing it, and something was done by zoning to address it, that premises that's doing it now is going to be a non-conforming use to continue to do it. Unless they were to cease that use for a period of 12 to 12 months, then it would no longer be a non-conforming use. They'd have to comply.
I did ask Sandra to pull up how many Airbnbs we have in town currently, and it's about 16 throughout the community. And so, this is sort of an ongoing cottage industry that's slowly cropped up. And I, do a quick Google search and you can find all sorts of news results where within the last 12 months, communities all over the country are beginning to adopt various regulations. And those look very different from place to place. I mean, New York City, for instance, banned all short-term rentals of 30 days or less. Then you look at other much smaller, communities more like ours, and they've, addressed it by forcing those types of businesses to get a special use permit through the zoning code. So I think there's like what we could do, but it would just take time to determine what would be best. I saw Barb first and then Mike.
Is the owner of the home local?
Well, the owner of the home is Noah Fritchie and his father.
His address is listed as
Okay.
Jacob now.
Okay, all right. So that home is owned by someone that is local, though?
Yes.
Or fairly local,
Mhm.
anyway. The other thing is, are they paying, monies to us for their taxing? Is that done through the Airbnb? They do that automatically and it goes to the city then? So we know that they have to be following that particular rule, correct?
Well, we believe that they are, the consumer is paying that through
whoever they booked it
the
through.
website
Yeah,
or whatever.
who they booked it through.
And I'm not exactly sure how that money flows. Sandra, do you know?
We do not have an agreement with Airbnb or Vrbo to collect the tax for us. We can do that, but I've got that taken care of. So they pay the city directly.
So the individual business operators, the onus is on them to pay us directly. And I believe there are like 3 of these on this list of 16 that we've had some issue with them paying.
Okay, that's why I wondered if we had that as a problem. The other thing is, we've rented numerous homes for varying times in Colorado, for example,
Right.
for the winter or for a week or whatever. And some of them are in residential, but they also have statements of how many people you can have stay in that particular home. This is a 4-bedroom, sleeps 6, or, sleeps whatever, or 2-bedroom, sleeps 4, whatever. Are there any rules like that can be enforced? It seems to me that 9 cars in one, people stay in, unless they all came from all over the country and they all came in one car and it's one that's, rated to have 9 people there. I don't know. But is there any way that can be controlled?
Yes, because I read in a news article in preparation for the meeting tonight that was one of the things that a community had written into their stipulations, was like, basically, you could only home as there was, if it was a 4-bedroom home, I think it was something like there was 6 people. I don't remember the number, but it was based upon the number of bedrooms.
Probably 2 in a room or whatever, but,
Right.
yeah. Okay, so we could have control over that to some extent or not?
Sure, if you wanted to write that into the way that we
Yeah, okay.
regulated it. Mike?
I was just curious, Mayor, would it be any interest at all, or do we want to get involved in this enough to where we require any Airbnb to submit their contracts to the city for us to view?
I think that would be a tough business proposition in a sense, because you might have somebody who on a Thursday decides to rent a house on a Saturday, and, how those would flow into the, in a timely manner could be maybe difficult. I don't know.
I don't know, I was just looking at all these, and we've identified 16 areas, but I was wondering how many of those 16 that we have addresses for right here, do we know what the stipulations are to rent those homes?
Well, at this point, we have no ordinance addressing it at all.
So that's why I'm asking, I'm wondering if that's something we should consider.
Sure, well, I think so. Teresa?
Yeah, I think here on the regulations and stuff, and one thing I want to emphasize, we're a single-family resident home. Everybody has owned their homes. We've taken care of our homes. We've sacrificed other things in our life so we pay high taxes out there. with the flip of a switch a few years ago, our neighborhood was upgraded and our taxes went way up. More high taxes, we are zoned for a residential family zone. We're a close, tight-knit neighborhood. So when you talk about all the regulations and stuff, no. There shouldn't be anybody out there. That should be owned. Now, Noah, you all know why he left. Things called up himself. He got himself in this. So I just think that there should be ordinances on it.
I don't think
But
we as a city can, I mean, unless we made a special residential zone, we can't
Our
tell somebody, any neighborhood can, if I own a home, I can rent it out unless my subdivision has.
But this is different. We're not talking
Right.
about renting for a year
Right.
where the community, their kids are going to school, they're purchasing things in town. We're
Right.
talking, I 8 cars at one time from different states. Very uncomfortable for us out there.
Right.
And number one, our neighbor, I won't name her name, I don't have permission, but she has an accounting firm. She was not allowed to have a business in her basement. She wasn't allowed accounting. So I just don't see, to me, it's common sense. That's a hotel. That's a hotel thing. What we need to do, and it is not like, and I think that our covenant might solve this problem anyway, but number one, they can sell that house. He's had an offer already for somebody to buy it. They said they'd buy it today. He didn't want to sell it. Number two, the single-family residence. We're not in hotel business. We have a lot of young grandkids. We're not on the business side. I know some of the businesses do their apartments and everything on the top. They're more zoned for that. We are not that kind of neighborhood. We don't want that there. Values go down, and we pay high taxes. Just look up at some of the taxes that some of the people in the area pay. At a flick of a switch, they raised our taxes. So we sacrifice a lot of our daily things so we can live out there. And I just think it's unsat. There needs to be some ordinance made or something, but no, this should not be a business. In a single-family residence where we have residents going back from we have a lot of elderly people there. We have a lot of young grandkids and children running. It's a circle-type driveway. It's not like it's out in the middle of, up on Walnut Street or above the house or anything. And something will happen. All you have to do is read the news and see the things that are going on.
Well, I appreciate your concerns.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah,
And
so-
I think that, we already have, as I mentioned a moment ago, 16 of these operating in town.
Right,
And so we're going to have to act, judiciously and make what we adopt as a right fit for Murphysboro,
But I think, like Richard said, the 16 that are already operating wouldn't fall under the new ordinances that we have the zoning, if we changed it based on zoning.
Well, I think I think whatever you have to do, but when we're talking about, no, we should not have to wake up in our neighborhood and see 8 different license plates from Purdue or from Indiana and everything. We pay for single-family residence. We bought out there on purpose to get away from that, and I'm very much opposed to it.
I want to make sure I give everybody an opportunity to, John?
Well, just, whatever we do, we can choose and enforce one, we can't cherry pick our ordinances,
Right.
It's gonna have to be something that's broad enough to cover all the options.
Sure, and I think, that there are businesses licenses that are issued, and there are insurance. So there's a lot to this if we're going to adopt something. Like, I don't think that we can, shoot from the hip on it. Gary?
Well, I know following a granddaughter around and active in the Army, Texas, we rented for 4 or 5 days. And I think they had it where you could have bedroom, if I remember right. You know, in most of the places. A lot of them were people, you stayed on the other.
That's a
There was
requirement.
one, I think it had 3 bedrooms and we could have 6 people. I don't know if you can get that into an ordinance where you're allowed 2 people per bedroom to help slow it down. I understand their, and I wish there was a way we could say it's done tomorrow. Because that,
Who's gonna regulate that?
I have a niece that lives out.
Nothing. And, you know, are those places that do that, but no, who's gonna regulate that? No, and then they hardly get the lawn mowed. So I don't think they're gonna, and they hardly get it.
Well, we have to have, I mean, that's not a neighborhood to have it. Now, I got a niece that, but, you know, I don't think it should be out there too. Don't get me wrong on that. You wouldn't want that in your neighborhood. We're just gonna have to research and see what we can do legally.
And I really think your covenants, Gary, I'm sorry to cut you off, but
that's all
frankly, your covenants out there under an HOA or whatever are gonna be a lot more, your straight away way to make, because it's going to be very difficult for us because, I mean, single-family residential is Gartside Street between 20th and 19th. I understand that's a different look of a nature of a community than where you are, but from the city's perspective, it's very difficult for us to regulate you differently than we would regulate, you know, somebody on South 7th Street or wherever else, you know, under the zoning.
When we developed it 39 years ago, we tried to find the original covenants yesterday. We could not, we found a lot of the original documentation. But I vaguely remember something about there being a part that said no rentals. And I'd like to find the originals on that. I don't know where they would be.
Yeah.
Should be at the courthouse.
Yeah, I don't think they get filed with the city. It's probably the courthouse, it's recorded at the courthouse, is usually how the covenants are.
From the city.
Right, but a covenant with the
Plan,
county,
right.
not with
Yeah,
the
the city
city.
doesn't need any of that.
Okay, so who would we see about that?
The county clerk would probably have you, county abstract to pull, those probably, I would think, Richard, would Scott be able to pull a record of the covenants or? Yeah.
Scott Maloney's office.
On every parcel works, it should list what date the covenants were recorded, and then you could get that copy of that from the county as well, too.
I have a question. In these other neighborhoods. Go ahead, Mr. Voorhees, you go ahead.
I live out there, been there for over 30 years. It's quite a neighborhood. I understand this bed and breakfast coming in, but I got to thinking now, it's right up 2 or 3 houses from where I am. I live right there on the corner. And the thing that I'm thinking of, when they're coming in for that bed and breakfast, I'm thinking about the houses on each side. And my wife said, boy, there's traffic up there. And I didn't know all what was going on. But I get to thinking, we've been paying taxes out there. We don't have sidewalks out there. We don't have the sufficient lighting out there, as far as I'm concerned. So I'm going to get up just for the taxes, much less for somebody moving. It's easy to say, well, this and this and this, but I don't know about you, but I live out there. And there's kids out there. I've got grandkids that come in and everything. People come in at bed and breakfast, and my daughter knows all about that. they can come in at 1 o'clock in the morning. You don't know who's coming in. You don't know who's coming up that street. And we talked about it, but I just feel like I'm a little edgy on it myself. And, I don't begrudge anybody wanting to have a business and everything, but I know a little bit more of what's going on concerning that matter up there. I'm not going to get into that, but I don't know if it's maybe paid for the house or paid for the tax. I don't know. But I do know this, that it's been a quiet neighborhood, and I love it there, and I hope that I can stay there till I check out of here. But anyway, it's interesting to note that we can say all kinds of things, but if it's your neighborhood, you think twice. And that's just the way I feel about it. And these people here, they understand, and we've got a voice too. And anyway, thank you for listening to me.
Thank you.
I'm sorry about I'm missing out on. My hearing's not all that good. And you're all talking. I don't know why you got these up here, because I can't hear about every other word you're saying. And so anyway, that's all I got to say.
Thank you.
The only thing I want to say is we do pay really high taxes. My family owns a farm in Missouri. 1/4 of what we pay, and there's homes on our farm in Missouri. 1/4 of what we pay them. I know you folks don't have anything to do with that. But when you're paying out thousands of dollars in taxes, I don't want to get up in the morning, and I'm a yard girl. I'm out in my yard all day long. I see what goes on over there all day long because I'm tending to my flowers. I don't want to pay thousands of dollars in taxes to see 6 to 8 cars out there and people going in and out in this peaceful, beautiful neighborhood. We're one of the original owners out there. We did not sign up for that. We have put a lot of money into our home. We've had opportunities to leave, but we have invested so much love and work in that home, and I don't want to give it up. But if this continues, I'll put a for sale sign in my yard.
Make no mistake about it, this problem was created by you and your failure to see this coming.
I disagree with that.
I disagree with that completely.
You wouldn't accept responsibility.
Yeah, that's an unfair statement, but that's okay.
I don't necessarily even see it as a problem. I think we should address some ordinances that, renew off of them when they come in, but I don't, as somebody who uses Airbnb everywhere, never been an issue. I've never had, you go on there, it's the service just like, and I don't see,
That you do, we're not.
anybody can buy that house and park.
Friends of Noah, tell him he's got offers, people who want to buy that house, that take it off his hands and solve the whole problem.
I mean, that's up to, not up to.
I mean, we can go back and forth and everything, but the bottom line is everybody has their experiences with it, but we're experiencing it now. And it's a whole different world. It's a whole different world than what it is.
Hold this agenda item over to our next meeting, and in the meantime, anybody on the council that wishes to sort of research various things that are being done, I think it's very important, obviously, and I'm sure that you'll be looking into the covenants that are there, because those may be to sort of reestablish the neighborhood as you believe it needs to be. And so we'll just continue to look at it and consider which way we can go. All right. Is there any other public comment under community relations? Hearing none, we'll come out of that and go to public improvement. Chairman, Mr. Donville.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Under the item of old business, consideration of the revisions to Chapter 21 of the revised code, which discussed last meeting, we're trying to determine the direction the council wants to go on public event and private invitation-only events. And Richard, do you want to chime in here and what happened?
Bring your own alcohol.
Yeah.
BYOB. Well, I guess the question would be there, just if the city council wants to do anything with those in that area or not. You know, where in the instance, if a facility is being rented out as a private party and they're serving alcohol, it's not, you know, that's not something the city, you know, it's not being sold. If people are bringing their own alcohol into a private event, if they're renting out, you know,
An Airbnb.
Yeah. You know, the city couldn't, that's not something the city can go into and license. Where on the other hand, if it's a private party, if it's a private function, on the other hand, when it's open to the public, people are bringing their own alcohol in or something, that is something the city could either create a license for it, or if the city can regulate it as a by statute, where it's people are bringing their own alcohol in. The city could regulate it with a certain license. The city could get rid of all those kind of establishments altogether if the city wanted to. So I guess that's where Don is presenting to the council. If the council, right now, the city doesn't do anything in that regard.
Has that been a problem?
Liberty Theater is one of the places that has allowed that in the past, where they've had events there where people can, and I know at different times they've had a special event license and sold alcohol. On other occasions, they've let people bring their own alcohol in. The question would be, does the city want to, and I know there's concern with the old VFW building, those current owners, what they're doing. I haven't really heard of anything there, but I know that's something that we had discussed in our meeting. If there's any, it's the city council. Right now, we don't do anything to regulate people bringing their own alcohol in, and whatever it may be. The question would be if the city council does want to address that in some fashion.
There's that point, and then there's also whenever there is a public fundraiser event where tickets are sold and alcohol being served is part of the ticket purchase. And think Logan Museum, they've done this in fundraisers, and alcohol is part of the ticket price. And the question is, do we want to?
I think Richard has something.
Yeah, I think that is already covered under liquor code. That is something that would require a special event license.
Yeah.
If tickets are going to be sold or something or a meal is going to be sold, includes alcohol, it's a sale of alcohol, that, you know, either you could have a vendor who could get a special event license to do that, or if a not-for-profit, if they're putting on that event, there's provision for a special event license for them to do so.
A state license will start with a 1A. A special event license will start with a 4A. And what a special event license allows the person to do is any product that is not used can go back to the distributor. So it's really kind of a order what you want because you're going to be covered on the other end. But that's the difference between a state license and a special event license, is the 1A versus the 4A. If that makes sense.
So do we know, has the museum obtained a special license when they've done that before?
Not to my knowledge.
Well, in terms of the BYOB thing, as, liquor commissioner, I don't know that I've ever heard of there being really any specific problems with that over the course of time. We had one, issue, like we mentioned, with the old VFW building. That seems to have basically subsided. And so I don't really think that there's anything we have to do here. Because I think it would be exceptionally difficult to regulate even if we did adopt something, because, somebody decides to, rent someplace and bring in their own booze or whatever, like, how are these folks even going to be aware that we have such an ordinance? Because it's not a traditional thing, I think, that is typically regulated in other places. So I just don't feel like there's anything that necessarily needs to be done there.
Okay. We have our direction. It'll be on next month's agenda to approve the code as we've got it. Under new business, we have consideration of residential use at 115 South 8th Street. Charlie, since you're here, you want to speak to this?
Yeah, this is just basically informative for the council. We have this set for the Board of Appeals August 20th for them to review. Wanted to throw it out there for you guys first before we went through that process and started it. There's a gentleman from California that is interested in purchasing the old WRD apartments for those of you know, it's right behind Plaza Tire. It's been vacant for, I think, since 2017, 18, somewhere around there. They're pretty well falling apart. He wants to take them down from 16 units, what they used to be, down to 8, make them more of a family type of rental unit, if that makes sense. He also plans on living in one, possibly starting a business in one. It's zoned currently a B1 community business district. Our ordinance says that if you have dwelling units, it has to be located above the first story. What he's going to go for is a special use permit to allow him to turn those into, rental units.
It was rental units for a long time.
Right.
So because it's been long enough since, is that why it's not?
The building looks
The
very
problem with it is it's B1 district. That use is a multifamily use. 3 dwelling units or more makes it multifamily. It's not a permitted use and cannot be a special use, either one, in the B1 district. In order to allow that, it would have been a non-conforming use. Our zoning is how it would operate. Since it's not been in use, that use in 2017, that non-conforming use status has been lost. So if that building is going to be used for something, it either has to be something that can be a permitted use or a special use in B1, which it's not, or if it's going to be allowed a multifamily use, it would require an amendment to the zoning code to allow multifamily, as Charlie is suggesting, as a special use in the B1 district.
And so that would be all B1 district, so that would be not just that.
That would be the question for the city council, would the city council want to, I guess the procedure first goes, when the zoning amendment first goes to the zoning board of appeals, they make the recommendation to the city council to make the ultimate decision of amendment to the zoning code. So the question would be, if the city council, before going through the zoning board of appeals, does the city council have any inclination to allow multifamily residential in the B1 district in general? The B1 is all along Walnut Street, so far back from Walnut Street, different areas sometimes. Some places just a block back, some places much further back.
So you're telling me that actually a special use permit would not function in this?
It would not, unless the zoning code is amended to allow multifamily.
Gotcha.
As a
Is he
Our
gonna,
thought with that was to keep it more so as a case-by-case basis instead of just opening it.
I don't think Richard's saying we can't though, correct?
With the special use,
We could
there
special
is
use.
oversight. Special use permits are granted by the zoning board of appeals.
Okay.
They get to look at each property individually, say that this location, is that going to be a proper special use here, or due to the character of that area, it shouldn't be allowed.
I mean, in my zoning, for me, it's more important to keep than it is to keep a res. I don't need to protect the businesses from people living next to them, but I need to protect the people living there from a business moving in.
Right.
And that building won't be
is he gonna tear
anything
that
but
down and start all over, or just refurbish part of it or whatever? I mean, it's pretty decrepit.
It's actually, we were in there a month or two ago, boarding it up, and on the outside, yes, it looks like it, but actually on the inside, it was fairly stable. I mean, it's not a bad building. Originally, the St. Andrews was wanting it to tear the top off and make it into like a preschool or something, but it went for sale, and the gentleman has, I've talked to his contractors, and they've given me kind of their site plans on what they plan on doing, and these guys are ducks in a row.
So it sounds like, yeah.
Process that we have.
The idea of having it on the agenda ahead of the zoning board is to get the sense, because the fellow has lined up his financing, he's ready to go, but if there's the feeling on the council that we're not going to allow this, he wants to basically not go through everything that he has to go through.
What is the business per se?
He's got some sort of like a retail shop, like a clothing or something like that, that he was,
Resale.
yeah, right now it's basically him, when he read our zoning, it says you can have dwelling units located above a business, so he's like, oh, I've got a business, and I can put it in down there, have it up on top.
Well, a special use for the business though, because it's already zoned for the business. He can.
And then, there's, like, Richard and I talked about it, obviously we don't want somebody living, on Walnut Street in the main drive where you can see right into their house, but there is quite a few buildings, just off of Walnut Street that could potentially, this could fall into. And this building's been there for mid-70s, maybe 80s.
Yeah.
That was built, so, but what would this building become of it if, we don't do something like this, so, and multiple buildings in town.
Yeah, I would support his, move. I think that he wouldn't certainly run into any objections from me. I can't speak for the whole council.
Not for me either.
Me either.
And I think becoming, like Richard and I talked about it, even in the case by case with the Board of Appeals being able to look at you guys still, you still have a little bit of say on what building and what portion of town or wherever they're at.
Right.
It's not just opening the flip every place in the business district to do something like this.
All right, so I want to make sure I understand though, because I've become confused throughout this conversation. Is it clear that zoning or not?
Right now, they cannot.
Okay.
We need to go through the process of.
To change B1 to allow that, then they could provide for a special use under the newly amended B1 parameters.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, I got there with you finally.
So is that something we wrote on by Nick?
Wait, first it has to go through the zoning board of appeals.
Oh, even
I think whether anybody's really, is he just asking if anybody's really opposed to it? So
Correct.
that we
Yeah.
know whether it's
We need a
worthwhile for him
sense-
to go through all the other.
Correct.
We
Yeah,
need a
I'm not
sense
opposed to it.
that we're all for this, but then it got to pass the zoning board of appeals, but I
Yeah.
think that they're for it. I see it as taking a unit that is still very usable and putting it back into getting it on the tax rolls and everything, so.
I apologize for not keeping up.
It's clear as day.
Yeah, it isn't.
Pass now new business to the discussion of regarding possible annexation agreement for 230 White Tail Road.
And I had that put on the agenda.
Ed was approached by Attorney Webb Smith, he's the attorney with the Ellie Burka, who his LLC owns the Jackson County Country Club property. He acquired the property, which is a residential structure on 230 Whitetail Road, for the purpose of making the property contiguous to the city for the possible annexation of the rest of the property to the city in the event it were developed as had been discussed in prior meetings. What he is looking at possibly doing now, he doesn't know what he's going to do with that property. There's no plan right now for it, but he is interested in selling the 230 Whitetail Road. Whitetail Road? Yes, that property, residential property. What he's wanting to do is to put that property under an annexation agreement. So at some future date, he did determine what he's going to do with the rest of that property and want to annex into the city all of it, that he has the agreement in place so that he can, on request, compel whatever future owner of that residential property to agree with a petition to annex. With an annexation agreement, it's a recorded agreement, it's binding on future owners of that property for a period. So before doing anything with this, the process to approve an annexation agreement at first required, we would want to get an annexation agreement that we thought would be agreeable with the city, would put obligations. The way we were presented with a form of an annexation agreement, it had language in it that I don't think to the effect that when sewer services would become available to the property, I don't think that really needs to be there. I don't think the city wants to be obligated to do anything other than potentially annex the property at some date. But I guess before moving further with the matter, we wanted to present it to the city council. The city council wanted to move forward with at least getting in place this annexation agreement on that one property. What it would take, we would want to finalize an agreement that would be acceptable to the city. To approve, it requires a hearing, public hearing. We've done it before, just before regular city council. It requires a newspaper publication. Matter, you can, if I'm kind of making the matter too confusing right now. But it's bigger than what was at one time being presented of a development of that property to the west of Country Club Road. Right now, we're just looking at the one residential property that connects the rest of the property. Agreeing to put it under an annexation agreement, so at a future date, if Mr. Burka decides he wants to move forward with some development of that property that would need that property to be annexed to the city, he has this one residential property under an annexation agreement, under which he can then direct them, to take part in the annexation process to the city.
So he bought this in order to be contiguous to his other.
Yes, and he, at this time, would like to sell that property. He wants to put it under an annexation agreement.
That way it's already there.
Right.
So
I think anytime we can get
annexation
additional
agreement
property.
binding on future owners for a period of 20 years.
Sounds like a benefit to the city.
I don't see any drawbacks.
Do we need to vote on it?
We don't need to vote now.
Okay.
It's all the same. Before moving forward, working on the agreement with Attorney Smith and then setting up here. So we already know certain provisions, things and questions presented to the city. Communicate in that regard. And then we will, public hearing would have to be, newspaper publication would have to be published between, at least 15 days prior to the public hearing to city council. So we'll move forward with that at the city council.
It seems as if we would like you to move forward.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Richard. Under public improvements and any public comment, room is clear. Back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, John. That takes us to Public Works, chaired by Alderman McCall.
Thank you, Mayor. There's no old business. Any public comment on Public Works? Here now, we can move on.
Thank you, Gary. That takes us to Public Safety, chaired by Mr. John Urbis. John?
Thank you, Mayor. We have no old business and we have no new business. And under public comment, I didn't know about this, or I would have put it on the agenda, but I was just told today that the Humane Society is stopping taking animals this week.
When we come around
Okay.
again, just briefly, yeah, they told us they were going to be shut down December 1st, but when you announce that to your employees, what are they going to do? They're going to look for another job sooner, so this week.
Yeah, July
We've
4th.
got a temporary fix, very, very temporary fix for the short term with one of the local vets, but it's not going to solve the problem. Me and our Tinter will be meeting with the subject in the morning for some options of directions that we can go, and we were going to put it on the agenda for the next council meeting because we'll have to come up with a plan pretty quick and get something going. So there's a couple different options out there that we'll be able to discuss and see which route you guys decide that would be the best for the city.
So is there another facility potentially that would take our animals?
No, there's nobody that wants to get into dog business. The county's been looking, Carbondale actually dropped out of this deal with the shelter probably
did they?
6, 8, 9 months ago because they weren't taking their dogs and they were making them pay around $100,000, give or take, where we've been paying just under 40 and the county was paying around 70. So Carbondale kind of pulled out the situation that was going on, and they've had a temporary fix for now, but they're exploring some options as well as the county is also.
Yeah, and I just want to, I can't remember her name, but whoever took over for T.O. Miller has been willing to sort of extend some of their kennel space back there for us to use in this situation, and so I appreciate their willingness to help at all.
Yeah, that's Dr. Landers.
Yes.
And I spoke with her on the phone yesterday. Mark has been in communication with her, getting some things lined up. It's going to be a situation to where she's not going to care for any of the animals. She's just given us the space that's been unused back there for a long, long time. So we've got to have some cleanup and restoration on our own just to get those, to be able to utilize them for a short time until we can figure out what route we need to go in the situation.
All right, well, we'll have a broader conversation about that on the next agenda. I also couldn't help but, I posted about it on my Facebook page today. This morning, we had a vehicle theft and we had a, chase, and anybody involved, as I understand, was apprehended, Chief.
That's correct.
And I don't know to what extent we really ought to talk about it, but I know one of our officers was injured. To what extent, I don't know exactly yet. And I think that wasn't involved with that specific case, but that was earlier this morning.
No, it happened overnight, last night. Two of our officers were searching an abandoned building due to somebody calling in and hearing noises and fell through ceiling about 8 foot down to the stairwell. Both ankles not in real good shape, but it's still unknown how long it might be or how long he'll be off. So we'll know more in the next 2 or 3 days probably.
All right, thanks for the information, Chief. Any other public comment on public safety? You on, Mayor?
All right, that takes to personnel. Hughes, Barb.
Mayor, there's no old business and no new business, no public to make comment. Any personnel have comment on personnel? Hearing none, Mayor, we can get out of that.
All right, The mayor's report, postal issues, because a resident had asked me to do so. We just continue to experience in a multitude of different ways the postal service sort of delivering underwhelming service. And, you know, it's been an issue for our water billing being delivered. However, I was somewhat encouraged by Catherine Volley gave me earlier today when I was in the office. This that says apparently that the Carbondale Sorting and Delivery Center is going to be operating again starting September the 7th of this year.
That's a good thing.
And what that means, it's a little hard to discern completely from this letter, but I think that it means a little bit more of a robust delivery system locally to where maybe not everything's going to be going to St. Louis than having to come back here. So we'll see if that, delivers a better service. Open it to the council if anybody else has anything to share on the matter. It's widely out of our control. But
That's nice, it won't fix their customer service at the desk, but.
right. Mr. Gladden.
Well, no, and I let it go back because it was, the door was locked, and I was there 10 minutes till 12, and there was on the door saying, whatever, we'll be back at 2 o'clock.
Right.
Lunch, and we'll be back at 2, and it's 10 to 12. But anyway, it's gone south. Where's Cliff Swafford when we need him?
You know, that man, to his last few days, still remembered addresses. He would look at people in church and say, 1528 Rosa. Always amazed me, his memory, even as an aged person. He wasn't myself an aged person, but I can't remember my own address some days.
All right, that takes us to council member requests. I'll go to Ms. Hughes.
Nothing, thank you.
Ms. Curry-Witzman.
I don't have a request, but I would like to thank Tim Lee and the water department. I've coined myself the fun buster because and Tim just so graciously answers his phone and has been very frequently and a lot here recently. I feel like I call him like every week for something. So that's all I have to say.
I'm getting you a new name tag.
Yeah, it's fun, but
Mr. Riley.
I'm good, thank you.
All right, Mr. Austin.
No, I'm good. Thank you, Mayor.
Ms. Jackson.
Nothing, thank you.
Clerk Hunziker.
Nothing.
Now, that was too long, man.
They don't like Noah. Have there been any problems? All I heard was that there were cars parked there. We use Airbnbs everywhere we go. We don't cause problems. Okay,
But it's our fault.
but it's our fault.
We did not perceive this would happen. I was feeling pretty bad for him until he said that, and then I kind of went south on that whole thing. Oh, you just changed my whole mind about
Take good minutes on your own conscience.
That's right.
I just didn't hear a problem is where.
I agree.
Lots of cars, but were they squealing around or driving?
They didn't want it.
All in the morning?
That was the problem, they didn't want it.
Okay.
I don't want my yard to flood, but it happens.
I don't either. It's happened to, or my trees to fall down, but it seems like it's happened a lot.
Well, Mr. Pittman.
I was gonna ask Darren if, there's a tree, it's not a very big tree, but in like that 6th and 7th Street, like 200, north 200 block, right behind Nazarene Church. There's a tree that's right in the middle. It's not a very tall tree, but it's round and some of the branches are leaking. right at window level on, into the road. I don't know if it wouldn't take very much to trim a couple of those branches off if you guys had time. And the next. Thank
He
you.
did that for me not very long ago on 16th. I don't even know what street it was. You couldn't see the stop sign.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
That's all I did.
Okay. Mr. Urbis?
Yeah, I mentioned to Glenn, I was gonna say something about the temporary fix on Spruce Street. The gravel was sinking and there's some pretty good holes. Well, I drove that way to the meeting and there's
Closed.
what's going on?
It's same as what we downtown. All over the place. We're currently there now.
Yeah. It looked like a big mess, so.
Yeah, in the store.
All right, thank you. Oh, well, I do, the fix in front of my house too is starting to, the gravel's sinking, 23rd and Dewey.
I'll take a look out.
There's some holes coming. Thank you.
The big rain was kind of a stress test on everything.
Yeah.
It's opening up a lot of problems.
Yeah, I know, I can hear it now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all I have, thank you.
Mr. McComb?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank Darren and all the guys at Public Safety, Police Chief, Fire Chief, Darren and Tim and all of them, even code enforcement, for everybody working as hard as they do, especially in the water issues we had. People grind, but we haven't had, it's not these guys' fault.
I don't know, they
There's a lot of stuff, mowing their grass in the street is part of the problem, and that's the right way, we appreciate it.
They couldn't even get out.
Yeah.
They couldn't even get out of their building.
Right?
That's all I have.
Okay.
This time, thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Mr. Gladden? All right. Take us to department head request, Attorney Black. Chief McBride.
By a contractor, they're bidding on the demolition of the Willis Building and the Crane Building. And this contractor's an asbestos abatement person. Part of that building is unsafe. The abatement ends, so we're gonna have to do a wet demo on the Willis Building. They need to be able to spray water on it. He asked if he could hire an off-duty fireman and have that fireman run our ladder truck to spray water on that because it is a taller building. I told him that I would run it up the chain. I ran it up to the mayor. He wanted to just, since it's in such a public place, run it past the council. It would not inhibit our ability to respond to that truck. We go spray kids all the time like that, so we can disconnect the truck and go with it. If that truck needs to go, that truck is only responded to because it's in such an old truck and it's so slow. It has only responded to about 3 or 4 calls since I've been here. It won't hold air. It has to be running all the time to hold air. We know the problems with it, but it would be sufficient to do that. And if it's okay with you, we would charge the FEMA rates as established by FEMA for fire apparatus, and then I can get a quote from Sandra on an hourly rate for the overtime firefighter.
I think the county offered to pay for the water too, didn't it?
I know that'd be with Tim, but
They did. I mean, CJ reached out to me
He
and
did me too. Well,
said that they would be, of course, willing to have the water metered and pay for the water. And I said, well, for the county, we'll charge you 3 times the usual rate.
That's right.
That's not what I said.
12%
But, yeah. Special rate, is that what I heard you say, Shepherd? Okay, I mean, I'm all right with it, but any questions, I'm welcome.
I think anything we can do to help get the building down.
Oh, yeah,
Sound good?
Yeah, that's just one of the, he may not even get the bid, but that was his fix for being able to do a wet demo on that part of the building.
when were they open?
You know that, when the submissions.
Today or tomorrow,
Yeah, it's close, because I talked to CJ, and I think he said there was like 12 contractors that bid that, and they were getting ready to open the bids. I thought this week.
It is there tomorrow. I talked to him today, yeah.
Okay, so,
It'll be pretty quick. Cause he's what, I think he told Mary to have it. Now, see,
Well, I know they're trying to get it down by Apple Festival, and that's anything we can do to help be beneficial.
All right. Mr. Austin, did you want to come back to something?
No, I was just gonna see if you wanted to mention anything about the ROE building that we.
Sure.
we went.
Earlier this week, I'm sorry to jump back from department head request, I just didn't remember to mention this. We were contacted by Annie Evers from the school district about the Regional Office of Education building on Walnut Street. And apparently, the school to relieve themselves of that building, and they are willing to essentially give it to the city for free. And
We
so.
could rent it to the county for something.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So, myself, John Urbis, Mike Austin, Chief Ellemeyer, am I forgetting anybody? Was that all of us?
Your son.
My son Martin came as
He was the
well.
biggest negotiator.
He was very skeptical. Anyway, looked at it. I think, the building has some issues. I think there's some question exactly of what we would do with the building, but at the same time, we don't want to, as I say, not give it consideration because it is a building on Walnut Street that I think with some improvements could perhaps be made functional. I think that somebody with a better structural eye than myself, though, needs to make a determination as to whether, what it would take to make that building, it has some basement water issues and whatnot. Brings with it certain complications. So, that's really, Mike, do you have anything else you?
No, that was it. She was willing to grant it over to the city, and I just thought it was something we needed to pursue, because the one thing that you can't get is land. Can't make more land, but that's right on Walnut Street, and that's primary for us, so I think we need to look at taking it.
Was anything said about the heating and air conditioning system at all?
No.
Because it's sticking in the back of my mind when I was still on the school board just over a year ago, that there was something with that system that we were going to have to put some money into it if they stayed, and that may have been one of the reasons that Matt moved out, or is getting ready to move out. I'm not sure. And again, that's over a year ago, so I'm not 100% sure, but that needs to be looked at too.
Yeah, definitely.
Problems in the basement for
Yeah.
years.
It's still Walnut Street property.
Oh, I'm not putting that down. That water in the basement isn't a new issue.
Why wouldn't they just sell it?
I don't know.
Well, they did something
what she-
similar with
What she mentioned was, if we did not take it, then they were required to put it on public auction. And you don't know what you're gonna get when you have a public auction. And she was trying to protect the Walnut Street and the entrance to the town.
I know they did something similar with where the Masonic, the Lincoln School was and Logan School. Bought that, didn't they transfer that through the city to those individuals?
Yeah, that was done for $1,
Yes,
because
yes.
it was going to cost, it was costing the district like 25 grand just a year for upkeep.
And had a boiler problem.
Plus the asbestos issue.
Yes.
So that was a great way to get out from
Yeah,
under.
liability issue.
gasoline there. Standard oil station.
well, personal opinion, but that's, I don't know what we're gonna do with it, but I don't know why we wouldn't take it, rather than it fall in the hands of, we don't want somebody in there.
Right.
Well, from my opinion, get somebody to look at it and let us know what's going on with it.
Mr. Sheffer, can you make a recommendation? I don't know if your office, or perhaps we'd be better, somebody who, does home inspections or something?
I think that's probably where I would start first. Ziegler, they still do that.
Okay.
We could always make it into a dog kennel.
Be barking.
Or an Airbnb.
Director, I may be able to provide you some information as well.
Okay, all right.
Are there more commercial, I mean, I know they do residential, do they do
Yeah,
commercial
I'll
too?
check with him, see if they know anybody.
Okay.
Yeah, if you would follow up on that and find somebody willing to do it on an expedited basis, I'd appreciate it, Harold.
And they were gonna provide like blueprints too, weren't they?
All right, where am I? Am I back to Chief Elmeyer?
One other thing, January coming up here in 2025 is when our department is mandated to have body cameras on all of our police officers through the Safety Act that's been created 2 or 3 years ago. I've been meeting with a couple of the entities that kind of have the market cornered on the body cam situation, which one of them is the main one, and that's Axon. Any of the police videos you see online or on TV, you're going to look in the corner and you'll see the word Axon, because 100% of the time, that's all I've ever seen. It's the best quality, it's the best videos, you're going to get continuous videos. It's not going to have spotty recordings where it could cause you problems in the legal area that's shut down for a minute or two. I'm sure anything could happen, but they're known to be the state-of-the-art body camera people in the police world. So basically, I met with a different company about a month ago, and their bid actually come in higher than Axon. We had a rep from Axon flying here from Phoenix last week and met with us, come all the way in here. I had people from the sheriff's department over here because they were mandated January of this year. So that way we kind of had a more educated group sitting around.
Do they have them?
Yes, they have Axon. And it went really, really well. The detective was able to point 3 or 4 things out to them that it became in our favor about like, yeah, I'll throw that in or I'll give you that type deal. So the way it works is we knew this was coming, so we budgeted $30,000 for this year to pay. And these deals work on a 5-year contract that you have to sign with Axon, and you pay a certain amount every year. So we get on board with them and pay the $30,000 up front. We'll pay 5 more, just over $14,000 every year. That's all I have to budget to take care of the remainder of the contract every year. We feel real good about it.
That's more reasonable than I figured.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be a lot
$102,000
more
total.
than that.
The other group come in around 116 or 118, and I really thought Axon would be around 150. But the guy really, really worked with us in a pretty good way. So I just want you guys to know, because you're going to see it on accounts payable, since it's a budgeted item, you'll see $30,000 that entity here before long. And then in January, you'll see another 14,000 something going in that direction. Just wanted to make you guys aware of that.
Thank you, Chief. Mr. Van Waring?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Sheffer?
Nothing, Mayor?
Ms. Volley?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Lee?
Nothing.
Mr. Iser?
Real quick, Mayor, I'm doing what Gary said. The Public Works Office last month has been absolutely crazy. I've made more work orders in the last month for both of these guys than I have probably the last 3 years. The guys in the crew have been insane. I don't know what's been in the water lately, but last month it's been just a pretty good job. Yeah, props to the guys at Public Works. They're doing great.
Good. Mr. Mills?
I have nothing, thank you.
All right, we have a need for a 5-minute recess, and then we'll come back and have our executive session.
Collins, I gotta go.
I received a little bitty sticky note that said you want me to look into some trees.
First, the address for the house is 2103. And the trees are on the east side in the boulevard. There are 4 of them.
No.